Oh, there we go. There we go. All right. All right. We're back. We're back. Oh my God, I am such a noob because I am a noob. So, welcome everybody. When you actually turn off the mics, you can actually hear people and things on the internet. But memes here, and I'm joined with a Mr. Scooby 331. Say hi, Scooby.
Hey, hey, what's going on?
All right. It at least says that we are transmitting live on these internets right now. And as we can see on our little stream here, we are titled Freedom of Association because in these political times right now, with the greater divide we see in our nation and more or less the entire world right now, I believe we should be building bridges. So that's one of the reasons I was speaking to a little Mr. Scooby before, and the thing is, a lot of times I see a lot of folks on the internet, and I've been saying this for a little while now. It seems like no matter what happens, someone says something, somebody does something. It just ends up devolving into a purity spiral again and again. This seems to happen every time on pretty much every side, and a lot of times, depending on who you're friends with, who you have associations with, you're going to end up seeing a lot of folks that just kind of jump to like what they know and the folks that they know and trust and everything. And like I get that and everything. And I think we see that in politics a lot nowadays, whether it's if you support the president or whether you oppose the president. A lot of times we just kind of end up just kind of clutching on to what we feel like is part of our side. It seems very tribalistic. What are your thoughts, Scoob?
I think that you pretty much hit the nail on the head. Everyone basically, what it is it comes down to the majority of people want to think that they're right. And everyone likes having an echo chamber. So the reason that you got this tribalism going on, it's not just the tribalism, it goes deeper than that. Within the tribalism, you have the little factions. I mean, well, we can get into whole how everything can splinter like that. But the thing of it is you like to go out and talk to people and have similar ideas thrown back at you. And that's what the real problem is with these echo chambers. I mean, you look at academia itself, it's turned into a gigantic echo chamber. And like, I actually took some pictures when I was up at one of the campuses here out east on Suffolk Community College. And all of the different rooms have safe space stickers on them. And I was sitting there, and all of the lessons when I was in a class about 2 semesters ago, uh, they had trigger warnings. And I went, yeah, I went and asked the professor afterwards. I identified myself. I told him I'm a journalist. I showed him my license because I was completely clean shaven at the time, and he didn't think he thought I was younger than I am.
Mhm.
And I told him, I said, look, I'm not looking to do like an expose on your class. I said, I'm actually observing the kids as a whole. I said, that's why I've identified myself to the professor because I'm not going to lie. These guys are all communists, but it's funny, especially this particular guy. He had one faculty, one resistance posters that he had made up all over his room. And it's all got all these stick figure teachers with the placards and like the signs and their fists in the air. And then he gets into an AMG Mercedes and drives away. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, he sounds like he's doing well for himself, and just to say hi to our friends in the chat, I see a Monterey of Hope. Hey, how we doing? I mean, they appear to thoroughly enjoy your mask along with voice. Terra Marine, who is also down here, I don't know, man. I think that mask is in demand. I'm not sure if you purchased that somewhere or that's something you should probably toss on the store, as well as we have the great Jelly Duck 100. How we doing there, everybody?
I just grabbed the mask on a lark. It went good with the hat. I got the mask first, then I saw the hat. I'm like, oh, this will go perfect together. And it's just a look that works for me, I guess. You know, um, everyone thought I bought the mask because of Jason Voorhees. No, actually, it has to do with Casey Jones with the Ninja Turtles.
Oh, absolutely. Good old Casey Jones. I mean, now, are you OG Casey or are you like newer Casey? Because I haven't seen the new one, but just dude, the hockey stick back in the day is somebody that played street hockey. I like
Two
that.
words. I got 2 words for you. Goongala Goongala.
I I have it's either been too long, perhaps I either am suffering some memory loss, or perhaps I've done far too many drugs over the years.
In the old Eastman and Laird comic books on the Mirage Studio imprints, which for any of you kids that are watching, definitely try to look that up on the different comic book websites. There are some gems. I definitely recommend the issues that were inked and written by Rick Vetch. Just phenomenal. Patches, Daddy's on the phone, buddy. All right, I'll feed you. Fat dog.
There's a very cute dog there as well.
Yes, and but if you look on the old Mirage comics, Casey Jones' battle cry was Goongala Goongala. They actually put it into the cartoon that they had right before the computer animated one, the last one, well,
Hmm.
second to last. Aren't they on the one now with Black April?
I I honestly have no idea, man. It's I've been out.
Yeah,
All I remember is the Mirage comics were like they were the original ones from I think like the 80s.
yeah, yeah. They were really, oh man, they were so big to me. Like when I was a kid, because my older brother, he read Daredevil. He read everything because you know what it is, we're New Yorkers. So naturally, and this is when Marvel was still, like a small time thing. So it like really resonated deep with us. And he was a Marine under Reagan, so he loved Captain America. And so that's all he ever read was Captain America. And he was big into Daredevil. So the reason I got big into Ninja Turtles was because a lot of people don't know this. The Ninja Turtles origin, I'm sure you know this though, the Ninja Turtles origin is actually spun off of Daredevil's origin. The
Hmm?
container that came out of the back of the truck when Matt Murdock was saving the guy from crossing the street, it actually, when it bounced off of Murdock's eyes and it had developed a fissure which put the chemical into his eyes and blinded him, that mutagen actually in the concentrated form is what caused the turtles to hyper evolve. It actually took out the glass bowl they were in and took them down the drain. So,
Wait, hold on. So what you're saying is it's kind of like in the secret world of Alex Mack, where all of a sudden that chemical X, or in this case mutagen, gets spilled, and there ends up being other bystanders as well. Oh, and Mitch has
yeah.
joined us. What's going on, Mitch? How you doing, brother? He says good morning. For some reason, I thought Mitch was in the United States. Oh, it's his morning. My apologies, Mitch. I was assuming you were in another part of the world. My apologies.
Yeah, butterfly effect, basically. That's actually what the Ninja Turtles is a good example of if you get down to it. If you use the original origin,
So what? Now Ninja Turtles are Marvel?
what it was was they were actually a parody of Marvel originally. It was
Uh,
they were basically like the residual of the origin of Daredevil. That they're what happened to the container of chemicals after it hit Daredevil in the eyes. Basically, that's where it spun out from. If you look, all of the Ninja Turtle characters were actually an homage to Daredevil. Splinter is actually named after Stick, and yeah, and the Daredevil fought the hand, so that's why the Ninja Turtles
the
fought the foot.
foot. Okay,
That's
no, no,
where it
I
came
heard
from.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. And you're a little bit younger than me, but you're close enough in age. You probably remember, especially if you grew up close to Boston. I'm sure because every Irish woman usually got one of those cheese graters with the four sides on it that you can slide your forearm and it's got the handle on it. You remember those?
I know what you're talking about. Yes.
That's actually where Eastman and Ladd got the idea. They were sitting around in a jam session and threw on this thing like a gauntlet, and they're like, "Can you imagine a character with gauntlets like this?" And that's where they came up with the idea for the Shredder.
And they literally named it after a cheese grater.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
beautiful.
They came up with the idea for Ninja Turtles after an all night jam session of nothing but beer and pizza. When I think they had to flee out to Connecticut out of New York because of tax purposes. They were basically dodging taxes, is what it was.
Well, I mean, nobody's ever done that before, so
Oh
I
yeah, they
mean,
heard it before.
well, dude, we're explaining deep lore and stuff here. I guess Terran Marine didn't know that. I didn't know that or anything. So, but that actually makes a lot of sense because I mean, that
I own
also,
about 10,000 comic books, bro.
dude, that actually plays off the magna of frickin' what is it like Dragon Ball Z and stuff. It's like frickin' Vegeta, vegetable,
Hmm.
Kakarot, carrot, and everything, and it's like,
Yeah,
oh, this is very interesting. I don't know.
freezer, cooler. Yeah,
I don't know. It
because
sounds like a picnic or a barbecue.
yeah. Well, it's just those English words because I guess that from I'm not going to try to pronounce his name. I butcher it. But what's his name with Dragon Ball? Those are all words that were actually infused
Akira
into their.
Toriyama.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
can never pronounce that right. It was infused into their lexicon specifically after the war because you had so many American soldiers and the basics. They would hear it over and over: vegetables, carrots. You'd hear them say things like cooler and freezer because you got a lot of the troopers going around Okinawa, walking around with their coolers and shit, and it's not they're not idiots. The Japanese they figured out these words eventually what they meant, and because of the phonetics of it, it just sounded cool to them. Like how many words do we take and change because it sounds cool?
Oh, we do that plenty of stuff. All I know is
Yeah.
YOLO is, I think, in Merriam-Webster's dictionary right now. So
Oh,
it's like
that's awesome.
that's their meme is there. I mean, the thing is like, and that's the way it typically is. I mean, we'll hear these words being added like every year, and you're like, oh my God, some of us will roll our eyes. But if you think about it, I mean, that's how generally things actually make it in there. As long as it's
Yeah.
within the culture, it's actively used, and folks actively at least agree upon the definitions, then it's like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Whereas if you try to force it, it's like, and that's my big thing with like a lot of like these battles we're having right now. It's like if the culture is going this way normally, I don't feel like we have the need to necessarily codify all that because now you're starting a potential issue and a potential battle. And do we need to pass laws and stuff occasionally? Yeah, yeah, we do because that's why we have a constitutional republic over here. It's like we've been given the greatest social experiment in these United States of America. And just folks seem to forget that. And the big thing that I have with like a lot of like kind of like our comrades on the left here is like you do realize, okay, you want to do universal health care, okay, sure. It's like I live in a state that's actually not a state. We're a commonwealth. We did universal health care. We did Romney care, and that was one of my big criticisms of President Obama when he was doing the Affordable Health Care Act, because when he
Hmm.
was doing, it's like, it's like 95% of Romney care. What he wasn't necessarily mentioning is that at the time Governor Romney made a lot of deep cuts and they
Yeah.
affected people. But that gave us the $1 billion surplus to pay for it. I used it when it initially rolled out. Was it slow? Was it clunky? Yes, but it works. It was able to help provide me with care when I needed it between jobs and everything. Like that's the whole point of the system. And it's just my argument is, okay, you want to go left? Go right to go left. If you take away the core of the conservative argument, well, how are you going to pay for it? How are you going to pay it? This is how we pay for it. If all of a sudden it's like, okay, we have made these cuts in order to do this, will there be folks that will oppose you? Sure, there'll always be folks that will oppose you, but are you going to have folks digging in their heels to the absolute end? No, and that was the thing that bothered me because there was a 2 week period, maybe you remember it, Scoob, when they were debating the Affordable Health Care Act, and I remember Republicans getting involved. Basically, they were talking about co-ops and stuff like that. We were having those discussions, and then I believe as soon as I believe was it Barbara Boxer or I believe the senator from Maine, as soon as it got out of committee, it just got rammed right through. And then all of a sudden, that seemed to generate a lot of ill will. And I think
Hmm.
that was one of the things that kind of irk things along. I mean, don't get me wrong. Good old Mitch McConnell there coming on saying, our top priority should be to make President Obama a one-term president. It's like, okay, is that a little bit more artfully said than some of the things perhaps Speaker Pelosi is saying now? Maybe, but it's essentially the same thing. You don't want to do there. It's like if you're going to fight to do it on every point, it's like that's why I say a lot of these things just kind of snowball again and again.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I myself have never been right wing, despite what everyone thinks. I'm just an asshole. You see, I got a loud mouth. I say things. I'm not trying to hurt people's feelings, but people are hypersensitive, and I have a tendency to be scathing, unfortunately. That having been said, I myself, I'm in for, I'm all, I am 100% for universal coverage. But this is the thing. I've said this for a long time. The Democrat model is flawed because of its reliance on cuts. I've always said there's no reason we shouldn't have a competitive model like we had in the 80s, retailored to actually cover all income brackets. The reason that they did away with it and they tried to put in a new model under the Clinton healthcare package is because not everyone could get the coverage. Because let's be completely fair, Reagan's plan just didn't cover enough because we really needed to retool a lot of things. I mean, look, I'll be completely honest. I remember the early 80s because I have older siblings. I'm the youngest of seven. So I had, fortunately, my father and my mother explaining things to my siblings because they're not going to explain it to a child. They're going to explain it to like teenagers and 20 somethings with more in depth. And luckily, I was sharp and I followed the conversation. I just learned to sit there, keep my mouth shut, thumb in my mouth, and teddy bear in my arm. And I got to learn. So, what it was is no one had retooled anything since I believe World War One, as far as economics had gone, as far as our systems had gone. Basically, what had happened was the systems were still in place from like the Hoover administration, and then you had all the band-aids that were put in place by FDR, and no one had really taken a whack at anything. And that's the reason when they started redoing all of finance and all of the laws and everything, that's the reason that our economy had such an explosion in the 80s, because they're like, holy shit, we can get rich if we just change things. And then all of a sudden, boom, our economy kicked into hyper gear and hyperinflation. And the problem was when they figured out we can hustle things around with medical so that only people who are above this bracket and below this bracket can get it, but only if they fit within this square. And that's when the Clintons came in and said, oh, we got a plan that's going to make it so everyone could get health care. And it's kind of like when you had 56K modem, it's still saying loading on that screen to this day. Nothing came of that.
Oh, dude, I jumped online. Dude, it was 28.8 for me. I still remember playing frickin' was it Ultima Online. I'm there in town. I'm lagging around. All of a sudden, this red dude comes there, and it's like, boom, next thing, ghost screen. Oh, dude, it ruined my morals so much. I did the instant res. I took the fellow. I'm like, oh, what do I do? And then I started to get over myself and everything. But it's just like, no, I get it, man, and stuff. You're entering this world. You're like, this is so great. I get to play a character, do magic, and hit things with a halberd and everything, and then mine, and then it's like no, but it's like I had those interactions. I'm sure you had very similar interactions early on the internet. So it's almost kind of like we were inoculated early on, and
Yeah,
now like if we're in a world where it's just like almost trying to treat someone almost like a bubble person
yeah.
if they don't necessarily have that underlying precondition, because if all of a sudden you're protecting somebody from absolutely everything, then they can't deliver a tolerance. Because like when I start hearing folks nowadays where the doctor where literally you'll have doctors say something along the lines of, or at least this is what I've heard here say of, let your child eat dirt. Like literally it's like as long as it's not like polluted with horrible toxins or maybe some mutagen or something like that, it's like, dude, like yeah, the kid might get a little sick, but in general, it's like kids are usually very like industrious, like the body to heal and stuff like that. It's like, I mean, my dad says like I jumped out of his arms when I was a kid. I mean, I mean, I think my mom says, oh, he dropped you. It's like no, you jumped. To be fair, I was probably an awkward kid and everything because I came out quiet. I was perfectly happy being quiet. And then the doctor raised his hand and slapped me on the rear, and then it's just been all downhill from there, man. So
I when I was a kid, I was raised really old fashioned. Like my father, he drove a cement mixer for a living. His he was a fisherman, but the bread and butter was driving the cement mixer,
hmm.
so he didn't need to use public transportation. But when I was a kid, he made it a point to take me on buses and trains, going nowhere basically, just take me for rides on them, specifically during cold and flu season to get me sick. I was sick constantly as a kid. But by the time I got into late high school, going into college, I didn't get anything anymore because my father just got me exposed to it. When somebody had chicken pox in the neighborhood, he said, get your blanket, get your pillow, you're going to sleep over their house.
No, I do.
Get,
I remember stuff like that.
yeah,
I don't think I needed to actually go to a pox party, but it was more like,
yeah,
oh look, hey, you just get it just normally from school, just because
yeah,
kids could be germ infested little
yeah.
wonderful friends.
Especially by me. God knows, you get everything over here. Like, and the thing of it is, like nowadays, things like what we're talking about, that's considered like child cruelty. Oh, you can't do that to a kid. I'm like, you're trying to help them, you know? Eh,
And like I understand it's like, and then you start to go into like the question of vaccinations. I'll be straight up, like if you're taking a less than 24-hour old like little kiddo and you're doing like a cocktail of 11, 13 shots, however it may be, that does seem like a lot to me. Again, I am not a doctor. Do not take my
yeah,
advice at all. But it's just, again, the way I understand it is you need to have upwards of like a 90-95% immunization rate. So when you do have folks that do have underlying conditions where they may not be able to take said vaccine, at least for a while, I mean, in order to help protect those folks, we need to make sure folks in general. And then again, it's like if there ends up being a risk for certain additional conditions, it's like we need to be open about that. That's the thing, because folks are so fearful about sharing information with people. It's just you got to be honest, and it's like just do it well. If you need to go to a PR firm to try to do this or that to communicate the message,
That's fine. Just be open and honest. Because the thing that bothers me is when I start hearing folks going around saying, "Oh, people are dumb. People are dumb." And yeah, well, that might be an interesting meme and be able to explain things to folks and everything. I personally think it's lazy because I tend to think that people are smart. They know what they know, often well. However, when confronted with something they're unfamiliar with, they tend up erring on what folks that they know and trust are saying. Because these are the folks you know and trust. It's like, why wouldn't you trust them? And then I incorporate what Sam Harris says is if you get additional information, you don't need to be offended about it. You don't always need to get pissed off or take it personally. It just incorporate that in to your viewpoint. That's all.
Yeah, yeah. I tried talking to a lot of these people with the vaccinations on both sides of the argument, and I've noticed if you're a rational person in the middle, both sides are not going to want to talk to you. Because what I've said to them is, I've said to the people who are pro-vaccination, I said I obviously agree with vaccinations, and the people who are anti-vax, I've said to them, I think that you're right about some of the things that they said with the findings with the links of autism, and I've said this to both of them. I think that what this can be attributed to is a two-factor thing. And what these two factors are is the individual's genetic makeup, and the secondary factor could be I think that a lot of these vaccinations, when not stored at temperature or aged or a combination of the two, when in combination with this person's genetic factor, this could actually cause a neurological and psychological response. Not to sound all fanboy, but I use this a lot to explain a lot of these phenomena. Um, Batman, 1989, Michael Keaton.
Hmm.
The Joker's formula, the one that took out the newscaster chick.
Yeah.
Turned out if you had the right physiology and you used a certain toothpaste, a certain mouthwash, a certain deodorant, a certain perfume, boom, Joker gas. And it had to be that certain combination along with your certain physiology. It might, I hate to make light of it, but it might actually be a similar phenomenon where certain people, if they have a certain type of blood type, they get the shot at the right time when their white cells are down, any number of things, and boom, that could be what triggers an effect that might cause latent autism if they have the gene. That's a possibility.
That's very interesting you lay it out that way because my general thought is it may be something similar to that. While in general, the vast amount of studies show that they haven't really found a direct corollary link or anything, I
Mm-hmm.
can believe that. However, I mean, again, we're all more similar than we are different, but we are each our own unique individual. So if there is a certain either genetic, biological component, whatever it might be, there may be some folks that may be more predisposed to showing negative side effects. And that may have been what that study showed, because that also
Mm-hmm.
kind of reminds me of the whole they say it's like, okay, video games make people violent. Oh, it's okay. As far as what I've seen from the studies, and again, I'm not a huge math guy. I don't know this stuff like a lot of other folks. But what I just took away is okay. There are some folks out there that okay, in general, does it correlate with violence? No. However, the studies also didn't disprove that. So what I tend to believe there may be a smaller group of folks out there that may be more susceptible to
Mm-hmm.
that, if anything, because it's like
Yeah.
we keep on looking at things as a binary, yes or no, yes or no. The world's
Yeah.
more complicated than that.
Yeah. The reason I actually came up with this theorem is because two of my nieces, my sister and her husband, they have property down in the DR.
Yeah.
So when my two nieces became of age, they had to get inoculated to go down to the Dominican Republic. They got inoculated, and when they got down to the DR, they both developed horrible flu-like symptoms. And after that had happened, they both became type 2 diabetics that have to use a pump.
Ooh.
Yeah, I definitely do think that we don't realize as much, we don't know as much as we need to know about human physiology right now because the more advanced we're becoming with our vaccinations and the chemistry we're doing, the more really bad side effects we're having with how it affects people. Hello.
Oh, hey, Sharadi, what's going on?
Hello.
How are you doing today?
I didn't know Hangout still worked.
Well, it does. It's off air. I'm broadcasting through Discord, so that may be a degradation in quality.
Hmm.
Yes, but we were just discussing basically potential causes that we haven't thought about before, such as uh, with potential vaccinations, with potentially violent video games as well. And welcome to the stream on freedom of association, because we believe in building bridges, because we need a better future.
You always think that.
Yes, and according to some folks, I'm trying to enact that. I am trying to use my words and my actions, aka my verbal and somatic components. That's why I'm attempting to be a wizard.
You
You're
and
also
Alan Moore.
attempting to be a dragon.
Well, excuse me, but I identify as a half-Jewish dragonkin on the internet
Oh,
because
cool.
because we can. La dragon form. Oh, I didn't update this avatar yet, or it takes 24 hours.
I didn't know you were Jewish.
Oh,
Okay.
hey, you go your way, I'll go Yahweh.
Hey,
Oh, hi, I'm Boychik.
but on the wrong side.
Oh, okay. Do you have something to contribute, Miss Sharati? Or are you here to troll us? Because we can do both.
No, I was just checking to see if Hangouts actually still worked. I
Oh,
didn't even know.
it does. I didn't know you had access to MC's private messages.
You put it in my server.
Oh. Oh, that's on me. That's on me. That is amazing. That's why nobody has been watching this. I must have actually put the link. Are we intimidating people? That's beautiful, Sharati. I love that.
Wow.
We are professionals here, and I've been warned long time ago by a very sagely furry. Be wary of posting links on Twitter. I have posted this link on Twitter. This is
Post
wonderful.
stuff in a server that is inactive and wonder what.
Oh, I posted this in many servers.
Oh, goody.
This
You're
is
gonna get a flood soon.
I'm surprised it hasn't happened before. It's like, oh, are people intimidated by links?
How
It's
your
like,
shit isn't being watched.
oh, well, it's okay. I just assumed it was prime time and folks had other things to do because I'm gonna be wrapping up in a few minutes because SideQuest is coming on. This is beautiful. I was wondering why there weren't as many people in the chat. No offense to the chat at all. You guys have been wonderful discussing movies and everything. And I guess Scooby, you actually had made an Agent K reference from Men in Black there inadvertently, according to Darren Marine. So that
Probably did.
yeah, Mitch is confirming. Mitch is confirming that's at least two sources. He's like, yeah, you posted the Hangout link to the promotion section in our server. I'm like, wow. I am impressed with the level of noobness.
My hat is off to you, sir.
I'm gonna have to
That
clip this
takes
part out.
talent, bud.
Yeah.
I thought you were better than that.
Oh, of course not. You've known me too long,
Jesus
Sharati. I mean, come
Honey,
on.
I'm just the research assistant.
Yeah, I thank you for your research and pointing me in Andrew Yang's direction because both myself and my brother Stats went to his event. I got to ask him about the blockchain.
Well, I am happy to have allowed you to get you to Andrew Yang.
No, that's the thing. You just give credit where credit's due. No, you've helped me out in different pinches before. Like, remember we spoke with some nice gentlemen before about some other topics, and I kind of just asked you if you wanted to have a chat with these gentlemen, and we did for like 2 hours. It may have been slightly uncomfortable, but hey, I think we made progress.
Oh, uncomfortable. Making people uncomfortable makes my day.
Oh, I also appreciate you are so kind to them. I know you can. I know you have the ability to, Sharati.
Oh, yes. It makes my day.
So I am simply going to ask on a scale from 1 to 10, how much potential drama do you think will start?
Not a lot, really.
Okay,
Because I
that's
haven't
fair.
been on the internet in a while.
Okay, no, that's fair. And I mean that's kind of more or less. It's like that's why I wanted to do the stream and everything, just because I've been chatting with Scooby for a while. It's like, do I agree with everything that everybody does? Oh hell no. So it's like I take a look at myself, I realize I'm a dick. It's literally my middle name, And that's just I'm sorry, Sharadi Scoob hasn't really heard it before, so I know I've said that a few times. So sayings this and that, and maybe Mitch hasn't heard it. So it just you just want to be consistent. That's the big thing. And it's like if we're gonna say we want folks to be out there and be able to discuss ideas, it really shouldn't matter. If somebody has done something to you directly or personally, that's fine. You have the freedom not to associate with them and everything. And do folks do stupid shit? Yeah, that's why it's my fourth tenet of humanity. But I also gotta acknowledge who I am, and that's why I say I'm a terrible human being, and I'm just trying to like build up some karma from just past transgressions and everything. I'm still gonna screw up and everything, but yeah, that's all I got about that. So I figure probably next 5 minutes we'll just wind this on down. So Sharadi, did you have any final thoughts about any of this stuff? Give your input.
Considering I didn't even know you were streaming, not a damn thing.
Oh well, thank you for letting me know that that I noobed it up to a level that I didn't even think possible.
Yeah, that,
This
like I said, that takes talent.
this explains a lot. I thank you.
No problem.
Cool. So Scoobs, what are your final thoughts on the topic? Anything else? Take like a couple of minutes, as long as you like, at least 5, or no more than 5.
Let me think. Well, I'll be completely honest with you, bro. You have my condolences as one of the most sane Democrats I know. So yeah, you got my condolences. Your party has gone completely nuts. Really. I mean, I've been watching these debates, and it's like, wow, can we try to out top the other? I don't like what they're doing to Tulsi Gabbard. I don't agree with a lot of what she says. It's not right what they're doing. Um, I don't agree with Yang on the basic income. Other than that, a lot of his policies I don't have problems with. I mean, they're sane. You need sane Democrats, and I've been saying that to people. Like my doctor, he's like, don't tell anybody I said this. He's like, but a lot of the things that Buttigieg or whatever the hell you pronounce his name, he's like, a lot of the things he says, he's like, I can agree with them. They make sense. I didn't have the heart to break it to him. Like, his city is the worst city in America. Like, they did an expose on it. But a lot of the things that they're saying, obviously some of their ideas are good. I'm not, like, I tell people all the time, I'm an independent. I'm not partisan at all. My love for the president stems from a lot of things. Not one of them has to do with him being tethered to the Republican Party. I have a saying that I tell everybody, and this goes for elected officials, people with a D next to their name or an R next to their name, not Joe Haircut like you and me. But I always say the Democrats deserve the gallows and the Republicans deserve the firing squad.
Well, not that we would endorse any type of violence or anything, because we are
Bro,
in a
so much
constitutional republic.
nowadays. With the bureaucracy nowadays, good luck getting the bullets and the guns in the same spot as the soldiers. Seriously.
Well, I mean, as far as I know, in these United States of America, we still do have the Second Amendment. That is, I believe,
Yeah.
potentially deterring some of the state police in Oregon from visiting some folks at their homes as well, because yeah, that was actually a story. That was a thing. Apparently, some of the folks there, and dude, that is very concerning there, because now you're
Yeah.
having one potential party saying it's like, okay, we are going to drag you in at gunpoint. Now, listen, I've watched some of House of Cards, and if you're already in the chamber and you want whoever has the authority figure there to block the door, even that kind of bothers me, because now you're restricting somebody's freedom of movement and everything. But it's like, dude, if all of a sudden, like, we did end up breaking down into some form of civil conflict because we're going to bring folks in at gunpoint to vote on something like that, it's like, that just that just don't seem right. And at that point, like, then we no longer live in a civil society. And as long as we live in a
Yeah.
civil society and we have due process, if you don't like it, you go through the process. That's the thing. You might not like the process. If you don't like the process, then go out there. Use your freedom of speech to rally folks for it. If you really don't like it, then go out there. Put yourself out there. And if you really want to change it, you can run. And that's one of the things where it's like, I hate the sheer fact that if somebody goes against the grain, like a Tulsi Gabbard, like an Andrew Yang or something, folks are going out there, you're calling her an Assad puppet. Why? Because she wants to withdraw from Syria and stuff and a lot of these foreign wars? With all due respect, it's like, she actually
does serve. Some folks might say,
Yeah.
she's part of the Air Force. You know what? She's still part of the United States Armed Forces, and that's more
Yeah,
than
period.
this. She can say that more than I can because I've never served. I ain't gonna steal no valor. Just that's the thing, man. It's just to be able to actually have a conversation, even if you disagree with things that a person has done, to look another person in the eye and just be like, they're a human being, just like you or I. And that's one of the
Yeah.
things that I think we're missing out on. So, any last final thoughts, and we'll roll the outro and
I
we'll
have to
wrap
be
it up.
honest because you brought up the thing in Oregon, and this is actually a quick history lesson to the chat and anyone watching. I was and am a big fan of Parson William Brownlow, Bloody Bill Brownlow. He was the governor of Tennessee right after the Civil War happened. When the secessionists walked out and refused to vote to give the black folks civil rights, he had them dragged back in at gunpoint by a firing squad. Now, I would like to point out the reason that I'm citing this, that this governor in Oregon, this is the 21st century, it's 2019. Memes is right. Now, I can applaud Brownlow for doing it back then, because we're talking about what, how many hundred, 100 and what, 180 years ago? 160 years ago about? I'm trying to do the math in my head.
I have no idea. I'd have to ask
Yeah.
MC.
It ended in 65, so yeah, about 150 something years ago. But my point is, um, we can't go back to techniques that we used back then. You know, horse and buggy era techniques. So I applaud her candor. I do, even though she's a Democrat. I'm not trying to be partisan. I think that the party itself has gone off the rails, but I can still look at a lot of these officials and say, I applaud their action. I applaud her candor and I applaud her commitment, not her technique. Seriously, again, it's like we're saying, um, you're not going to use revolutionary era, punishments for people. We're not going to roll out the guillotine. Just like we're not going to do that. You can't go and drag people in by gunpoint. You have to have some sort of some modicum of civility and things of that nature. You have other things you can do. You can censure these people. Seriously, you don't need to get in here. It's not necessary. I agree with you on that one, Memes, definitely.
Yeah, and that's the big thing, just because I see a lot of folks, even in the walk away movement, and it just really seems to me, it's like, I see these folks saying this, and they're walking away, and these folks would love to vote for the Democratic Party and stuff, but just for certain reasons, they just feel like they can't. Some folks are saying that the party has left them, and it's just like, are we doing what believed to be popular? And the big thing is, I don't really disagree with much of this stuff. I just believe the ethos, the pathos, I'm right there with you. It's just the logos, the way by which we are achieving it. I believe we go along a slightly different path. If we can get to the same end, what do we miss out on? Hate? Trying to spite the other side? And that's the thing. When I start seeing Mark Dice saying, I like global warming t-shirts and stuff, he's profiting off that. The folks on the other side, yeah, that's going to piss them off and stuff. But I see this going just back and forth, back and forth. I'm like, dude, this is unsustainable.
Why I'm not right wing.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like the president, he's not really helping the rhetoric and stuff. You can say he's doing what politically is working with him, and it's hard to argue because it is working for him, and it's looking like he will get reelected. And that just makes me sad, because it's like, just imagine this in your head for just 1 second. Just all of a sudden, you have a candidate out there, President Donald Trump. They actually start discussing issues. It becomes more like a WWE match where they're kind of going at each other, like a Stone Cold versus The Rock, a Hulk Hogan versus like the Ultimate Warrior, where you just have two folks. They're going at it, but they're not trying to like murder each other or anything. And I said the M word, so if we ever were monetized, which we're not, it's done. So.
I think one of the sad things is you'd actually get the debate you wanted if you could get Tulsi to talk to him. I think because a lot of people they like to think that the president is sexist. I hate saying this. It's because he had a strong mother. He respects women a lot more than men, and a lot of people are like, well, he said, grab him by this. Look, vulgarities aside, a man is a man, a woman is a woman. When you're talking amongst companies, sometimes the language can get a little bit blue, and it's unfair for people to color the man this way. Because if you look at his performance, especially as president, the past 3 years, you're going to notice a pattern. This man has a lot more respect for women than he does for men. His mother raised him that way. It seems apparent because his highest staff are all women. and he surrounds himself with powerful, intelligent women. That's one of the things I've noticed about him. As somebody who has 5 sisters, I'm telling you, this is a man whose mother drilled it into his head to respect women, and his father did too, because you can tell he defers to women a lot. And that's one of the things that the left hates, because you notice they're all talking about women. I always hear coming out of the mouths of gay black men. I've noticed. I don't ever hear it coming from women, which is ironic from the left. You know, they have more gay black women's advocates than I think the East Village. It amazes me. You know, it's just I say this all the time. Look at the people that the left rolls out to talk about subjects and matters, and look at these right wingers. Because I've said this before, I have never seen so many gorgeous women who use $10 words as you're going to see on Fox News. It blows my mind. I actually try to get young ladies to watch Fox because I think it would inspire them. These women are all gorgeous, and they use words. Well, I got to break out a thesaurus every once in a while. What the hell did she just say? Seriously, to me, I think that is a really good role model. That's part of the reasons I like Tulsi Gabbard so much. She's young. She's a veteran. She's ethnic. She's from where's she from? The South, right?
She's from Hawaii.
Oh, she's from Hawaii. That's even better. I was mixing her up because they're the same ethnic stock as Nikki Haley. She's from Carolina, I believe.
No, I have no idea.
Yeah. My point being is, as somebody myself who identifies as ethnic, I grew up around a lot of those 1488 guys. You know, they would constantly tell me, "You're not white. You're not white." You hear that enough, you're like, "Okay, fine. I'll take my ball and go somewhere else. Fuck you." So, you know, I'm like, "Okay, I'm ethnic. I don't want in on your reindeer games. Go shave your heads. You know, go have fun with your shoelaces and your suspenders." You know, wasn't my thing. That's why I get annoyed when people tell me I'm a Nazi. I'm like, no, I actually know how to dress and I have good hair. But the thing of it is, I liked her, and I do like her, and I'm getting annoyed that the Democrats are doing what they're doing to Tulsi, because you'll see an actual debate and issues get talked about if Trump talked. It was to debate her. I think she is one of I think honestly she's the only candidate he'd show any modicum of respect towards, because she's a young lady and she's paid her dues and she got there the right way. None of them have. Well, I know you're a Democrat, bro, and I don't like ripping into your party. But, I mean, if you look at who's on that stage, my God, just some of the things that some of these people have done. And I'm not even going to go off on Biden. Elizabeth Warren, I'm sorry, the woman is nuts. She's balls crazy.
I voted for her last time.
I'll be completely honest. When Trump, before he was going to run, when Jill Stein was going, until she went nuts in Philadelphia, really leading that riot through the streets, I was probably going to vote Jill Stein if Trump didn't run. Like, I voted Democrat before. I was one of those assholes in the green T-shirt with the big friggin' recycling thing on it that would go door to door. Excuse me, would you vote for Al Gore? I was one of them.
Oh, good old door to door. I've done that in other industries. I may or may not have considered doing that in politics. Hey, I didn't end up doing it. Now I go around, I talk to folks, see if folks want to go on the record, and that's about it. So, all right, Scoobs, we're gonna wrap it up here. Any last statements you want to make to any of the folks that may watch now or in the future?
Yeah. Okay. You guys seen this? What it says on my hat? Make America Great Again. The reason it's not the red one is because I'm an independent. I love the president. I voted for the president for one reason and one reason only, because I want to get rid of the bullshit. I think that he's doing a good job towards it. And if you guys want to do what the statements is here, you do what I'm doing with memes here. You talk. You don't sit there and scream at each other.
That's what we like to call civil discourse. And with
exactly.
that, my friends, Scooby, thank you for joining me this evening. Thank you, everybody in the chat, and everybody that may watch in the future, and anyone that may join the Hangout link as soon as we're off air. So, hey, thank you, everybody, and peace out.
Peace and chicken grease.
Yeah, we're gonna roll out with that.